Radhe Radhe, good morning, good evening, everyone. Welcome to today's edition of Daily Wisdom from Bhagavad Gita. Hope you're having a wonderful day or having a great start to your day. So let's get started. I'm going to share my screen and then we'll get underway with today's topic. Are you able to see my screen? Great.
Yes.
Okay, we'll get started with our opening prayers. Gurur Brahma, Gurur Vishnu, Guru Devo Maheshwaraha. Guru Sakshat Parabrahma Tasmai Shri Guruve Namah. Vasudeva Sutam Devam Kamsachanurvardhanam Devaki Paramanandam Krishnam Vande Jagat Guru. Krishnam Vande Jagat Guru. Radhe Radhe. Good morning, good evening again to all of you. So let's get started with our topic of discussion. So we start with our soul soup segment, like always. So as part of that, we are talking about the gravitational pull of bad habits. So we'll continue to build on that. So breaking the gravitational pull of bad habits. So let's look at how it's like once we create the bad habits, then we have to, it's like we spoke about, it is undo it yourself project. You have to undo it. And it's like that iron cables, when you start stitching it together, when it is one strand, it's easy to break that, relatively easy. But when it becomes a bundle, it becomes very difficult to break. So it really depends upon how much of, how much invested you are in that habit, how long you have been having that habit, it becomes difficult. It's directly proportional to time. More the time you have spent in that particular habit, more time it will take to, more effort it would take to break that as well. Now let's take an analogy or an example, real life example on what it means. So I like this example. So you see here, there's a rocket here. Now this rocket, as you see, it's ready to launch itself. Now when it launches, 80% of the fuel is consumed in the initial few stages, only 80% of the fuel. And then after that, it reaches that escape velocity, which enables it to go around the centripetal force around the what do you call that, the axis or the trajectory around the earth, or maybe as a satellite as well. But then the rocket, the maximum number of fuel is expended in the initial few stages, 80%. And the same thing goes when we are trying to break a habit as well, a bad habit. Even in physics, we were taught that the coefficient of static friction is higher than coefficient of kinetic friction. That means when you have to roll a ball, the effort that you have to expend at the beginning is much higher because that static friction is high. But once it gets rolling, then it becomes easy. So same thing goes with the habits as well. It will take a lot of effort, initial effort, for you to break that habit, because this is like a gravitation. You are acting against the gravity. And then it requires is patience, commitment, and understanding. So that lift off, like that rocket, is something that is, we need to preempt it, that it is going to require a lot of determination to begin with, and lot of commitment and patience as well. And then how can we achieve this liftoff is something we will talk about tomorrow, not for today. Today's nugget was just to tell that this is not something that, don't get disheartened. It is something that would take effort to begin with, because even in case of rocket, as you saw, the 80% fuel was spent in the initial stages itself, right? And then once it gains the momentum, then it acquires the required escape velocity, and then after that it becomes easy. And same thing is like pushing a stone. The inertia or the coefficient of static friction is much higher, but once it gains the momentum, then it becomes easy. So same thing you can expect when you are trying to achieve your liftoff from the habit you are trying to break. Okay, it is going to be difficult, but it requires persistence, commitment, discipline, understanding. All those things would be required as well. Tomorrow we will continue to talk about, but tomorrow maybe the next segment, what is our liftoff and how do we pull it off is what we will talk about. So with that said, now let's get into our shloka for the day and get the discussion as well. So I'm going to recite it and then you're welcome to follow along. Bahyasparsheshvasaktatma vindatyatmani yat sukham sa brahma yoga yuktatma sukham akshayam ashnute. Okay, let's take a few hands.
राधे राधे रिया जी।
राधे राधे।
राधे राधे रिया जी।
बाह्यस्पर्शेष्वसक्तात्मा विन्द्यत्यात्मनि यत्सुखम् स ब्रह्मयोगयुक्तात्मा सुखम् अक्षयमश्नुते।
Very nice. Thank you, Riya ji. Okay,
राधे
let's
राधे।
take two more hands. Radhe Radhe Sandhya. Go ahead.
राधे राधे सैम जी, प्लीज गो
Sam
अहेड।
ji.
राधे राधे। बाह्यास्पर्शेष्वशक्तात्मा विन्दति आत्मनि यत्सुखं सः ब्रह्मयोगयुक्तात्मा सुखम अक्षयम अश्नुते। राधे राधे।
Radhe Radhe. Thank you, Sam ji. Sandhya, go ahead, please.
राधे राधे। बाह्यस्पर्शेष्वसक्तात्मा विन्दत्यात्मनि यत्सुखं स ब्रह्मयोगयुक्तात्मा सुखम् अक्षयमश्नुते।
Very nice. Thank you. So in this shloka, Lord Krishna is saying those who are not attached to external sense pleasures realize divine bliss in the self. Being united with God through yoga, they experience unending happiness. So we have spoken about how we carry the fountain of happiness within us, and then all it for us to tap into that, what is required is that we need to reject or renounce the external sense pleasures. And when we start changing the direction inwardly more than seeking or trying to fill that gap externally, that's when we start tapping into the fountain of bliss that we are talking about, because God is seated within us. Let's continue to build on that because it's a journey. So today we will talk about, but we'll do a quick recap. So senses, these are the senses we spoke about, and we humans have a formidable task ahead of us. It is formidable because the enemy is pretty strong. One sense itself can take anybody down, and here we have to contend with five of them. And each one is seeking its own object of pleasure, right? Those five horses, each one have their own thing. Eye says, watch this. Your sense of taste will say, taste it, and then touch this. All the senses are craving for their objects, and we have to contend with each one of these, which are pretty much having a free run at this point, unless we understand the deeper secrets, unless we operate mindfully, unless we employ witness consciousness, unless we are trying to take control over it, our senses will have a free hit. And your senses will be determined by the kind of gunas, propensities, tendencies that you have, which is again our own doing in our past lifetimes. And they will keep on basically dictating the terms with us. Do this, do that, I need this, I need that. And if you think about it, unless we take control over it, what will happen is it will get further entrenched into that sense gratification. Why? Because we have engaged in it, we are indulged in it. That means we have gone a little more deeper into it. And then we have a little bit more to climb over down the line, right? It's like digging a pit for yourself and you only have to climb over it. So more than engagement and indulgement, the difficult it becomes over time. So yesterday we also spoke about that this is a mission impossible, where we are trying to extract happiness out of this world, right? So you cannot extract butter out of water, it's milk out of. You cannot extract oil out of sand, and you can't grow grass on a tortoise shell. You can't grow, or the shell cannot grow grass on itself. But then our scriptures say this impossible may become possible. But you being able to extract happiness from this world is still not possible. Okay, that is how strongly it advocates. Very clearly it is telling it's just not possible. And that is what we continue to seek and keep on getting disappointed. Not even disappointment, we are getting disappointed, but then we don't have a plan B. We think this is what the world is doing and this is what the best I can do. So we continue to engage with the hope that one day we are going to get that happiness, or this is the only way to operate in life. Whatever little happiness, temporary happiness we get, we are happy, probably made peace with it, that's how we will continue to operate. But our scriptures say no, you deserve better. You can actually tap into infinite um, happiness, ever fresh happiness that can persist and not vanish or evaporate like the material happiness does over time. So that led us to, the direction part of it, where this gentleman is still not tired. I mean, he's been running since yesterday. We need to change the direction from world towards God, and that would enable us to tap into that eternal bliss that is very, very much residing within us only, which we have forgotten because of the layers of ignorance, and because of our mind intellect is leading us astray, saying that, yeah, there's happiness in this world. So it's a little bit like this, right? You're doing fishing, but all you need to do is change the direction. Okay, no matter how much time you spend, it is not going to help unless you change the direction. And this is what our scriptures are telling us. You seeking happiness is perfectly fine. There's no problem with that at all. In fact, this is how you are wired or programmed to do. But the direction in which you are seeking needs to be reversed if you truly want to tap into that happiness. With that said, let's listen to a quick video before we get into the different levels, because it's a journey. How do we start turning inwards? What are the different stages that we can expect? I'll talk a little bit about that. But let's start with the video. Let me know, Rahul, if you're able to hear the sound.
Of our life.
Are you able to hear it?
Yeah, thank you. That's okay.
Okay, wonderful.
The biggest belief that we will establish within ourselves is in regard to happiness. Where are we convinced we can get true happiness? That one decision will determine the trajectory of our life. If somebody firmly believes that happiness is in money, his entire energy, his entire effort is spent in the pursuit of earning money. If somebody believes that happiness is in achieving prestige and fame, then that is where his entire energy goes. If somebody believes happiness is in God, then he strives to know and love God. So this puzzle regarding happiness needs to be solved to put our life in the proper course. There was once a crow that became unhappy about his state. He thought, I have this dark and ugly color. If I were a swan, I would be white colored and so happy. The crow went to the swan and said, Mr. Swan, you must be the happiest bird. In contrast to me, you have this milk white color. The swan said, Mr. Crow, I thought I should be happy until I saw the parrot. And then I realized I am a single colored bird. He is a double colored bird. He is the one who must be happy. The crow then went on to meet the parrot. And he said, Mr. Parrot, you have this green color given to you by God, and you also have a tinge of red in certain places. These two colors of yours in contrast to my single dark color. You must be a very happy bird. The parrot said, I thought I was happy until I saw the peacock and the luscious splatter of colors on the peacock's tail. That made me really miserable. The crow, in his search for the secret of happiness, then continued and found a peacock. He said, Mr. Peacock, God has created you with great affection. He has filled your tail plumes with such rich violets and indigos and greens and blues. You must be a really happy bird. The peacock said, Mr. Crow, I thought I should be happy, but because of all those colors, I was put into the zoo. If I didn't have such attractive colors, then I would have been a free bird. The crow then realized nobody seems to be happy. So, what then is the secret of happiness? According to our Vedas, there is one kind of happiness that degrades you. If you run after it, it pulls you down. And there is another kind of happiness that uplifts you. The first kind of happiness is called prayer. And the second kind of happiness is called Shreya. The Kathopanishad states, Shreyascha prayascha tayo adadhanasya sadhu bhavati hriyate arthat yau prayo vridite. If you run after Shreya, your life will become auspicious and blessed. If you run after prayer, it will be a pathway to hell. What is prayer? And what is Shreya? Prayer is that happiness which seems to be extremely sweet right now, but later on it turns bitter like poison. Like, for example, if you choose to have a third helping of the ice cream to satiate the taste buds of the palate, it is sweet, no doubt. But later on, after a few years, when your cholesterol has started increasing and the arteries have started getting clogged, you realize, oh my God, this is the cause of untold suffering. On the other hand, Shreya is that happiness which is bitter right now, but later on it becomes very sweet. Like, for example, if you have to get up in the morning and spend 40 minutes doing your yogasanas, it's not so pleasing to the mind. However, it bestows you good health and a comfortable long life. So Shreya seems to be bitter in the present. And that is why the mind seeks to run away from it. This is the enigma of life. Things that are beneficial are often difficult, and things that are enjoyable in the present are often harmful. I remember when I was a child, I would often think at the age of 7 or 8, why is it that all the tasty things are bad for health? And things that are good for health are untasty. There is a saying in Hindi, आमले का खाया और बड़ों का कहा बाद में पता चलता. Amla is the Indian gooseberry. It has the vitamin C of 10 oranges. Plus, it is rich in antioxidants. So naturally, if you eat the amla, it will build up your body immunity. Your chances of catching a cold or virus will reduce by 95% if you have an amla every day. But the catch is that the fresh amla is bitter to taste. And when the mother offers the amla to her child, the child resists. At that time, the mother says, my child, the benefits of this you will realize later on. Interestingly, if you keep the amla in your mouth for just a few minutes, that bitterness turns into sweetness. In regard to Shreya happiness, there is a Sanskrit verse, Sukharthi tyajate vidya, vidyarthi tyajate sukham. Sukharthina kuto vidya, kuto vidyarthina sukham. The student who runs after immediate happiness will have to reject knowledge. And one who is a vidyarthi, the seeker of knowledge, will have to reject immediate happiness. Similarly, in life, the good things always lie upstream. In other words, to reach them, we need to embrace discipline, austerity, hardship, and the mind rebel. The biggest belief that we will make a wrong decision, and the other foot was bare. When we both got off on the same bus, there's a good chance you'll make a wrong decision. I was once traveling in an Indian bus, and there was a tramp who came and sat on the next seat. I did not realize it at that time. When we both got off on the same bus stand, he started walking. I found that he had a high-heeled sandal on one foot, and the other foot was bare. So he was limping along. I thought, poor guy, he's suffering so much. I asked the tramp, have you lost a sandal? He said, no, Babaji, I have found a sandal. He unnecessarily brought misery onto himself. He found a sandal, he didn't have to wear it. But by wearing it, he has become miserable. So similarly, when we choose happiness in the wrong place, that becomes the cause of our miseries. Hence, with our intellect, we need to analyze and understand where is the real happiness that will satisfy me. One disciple went to his guru. He was in the pursuit of happiness. So he sold off all his possessions, made a bundle of his little treasures, and along with that bundle came to the guru and said, Gurudev, I am a seeker of happiness. Can you explain to me how I will become happy? The guru snatched the bundle from his hand and started running. The disciple thought, I had come to find happiness and I have lost my lifetime treasures. At least let me get these back. So he chased his guru in hot pursuit. Now the guru would keep ducking into the side lanes and the disciple was quickly after him. Finally, after 2 kilometers, the disciple caught up from the guru and snatched the bundle back. The guru said, are you happy now? The disciple said, yes. The guru said, look, happiness is not in these objects. You had the object earlier, you were not happy. And now you have it, you are happy. The happiness that you experienced was merely the satiation of the desire. The pain that the desire created was eliminated, and you are thinking, I'm happy. The real happiness is in God. Anando brahmeti vyajanat anandadhyeva khalvimani bhutani jayante anandena jatani jivanti anandam prayanti abhisamvishanti. The Taittiriya Upanishad states that he is the ocean of happiness, and upon reaching him, we will become truly happy. So how will we reach God? Very simple. When we cleanse our hearts, when we purify our mind. In other words, real happiness will only be experienced by growing from within, by becoming a better person from inside. If we can understand this one important point, then rather than running around for external enhancements, we will give a priority in our life for internal growth. Think about it. Many of you, maybe in your 40s or 50s, you have been running for external progress for so many lifetimes. What priority have you accorded in your life for inner growth? And because that inner growth has not taken place, the external progress is not leading to fulfillment. Now reverse the priority. Give more importance to the inner victories. Make it your primary value in life to become a better person. And the better we become from inside, the closer we will find we are to genuine happiness that satisfies the soul. So let us establish this firm conviction within ourselves that to be happy, it's not that we need tremendous amount of money or fame or titles or houses, etc. All we need is to become better people. When that is our conviction, when that is our faith and our belief, then the trajectory of our life will be auspicious, will be beneficial, will be uplifting, will be sublime.
All right. Hope you enjoyed this powerful nugget from Swamiji. So the best thing I like about it is that the buck stops with us. If we are not happy, that means we need to improve the quality of our mind. That means we need to grow from within. That means we have to become better people. So it's directly proportional to becoming better. And when we become better, when we grow from within, the more purified our mind is, the more our experience of happiness would be. And it is not something that needs to be added from outside, it's something within us. All we need to do is become better people. See, it's a very nice game that, not game, I should say, very nice um, kind of an entrance God has created. He says that all I expect you to do is become better. Invest in yourself, become better individual, grow from within, and then happiness is your for the taking. All the happiness, infinite happiness that we've been talking about. Now, since it's going to be a journey, and I hope you enjoyed that framework of Shreyas Prayers, it's a very handy tool to see what we are looking for. Is it going to help me in short term or long run? Now, let's look at the different levels that as part of this journey we are likely to go through. So the first step is in this journey is where we start becoming detached from external stimuli. You become detached and not too excited from an external stimulus, whether it is for something good that is happening to us or something bad, or favorable or unfavorable. Right. So this is the first step. We start taking a step back and activating that witness consciousness that we talk about, right? So external stimuli, it's not like you immediately respond to it. You just take a back and then objectively look at it and become detached to it, because it's a happening, it's a fleeting thing, temporary thing that we just tolerate that, right? So this is the first step. So if you look at it, this is number one step. Then what happens is then seek happiness within. When we start turning the focus inwards, it's like that the limbs of a tortoise, when something comes, when it senses some kind of a danger, it retracts or withdraws its limbs inside its shell. Now, similarly, we need to start directing our senses inwards, which is what leads to internal happiness. And this is something that will gradually grow on us, not something that you start retreating inside and immediately you'll feel blissful. It's a journey there as well, right? So this is number 2. And then the third one is you concentrate on Brahman, which is the God or the Paramatma aspect of it residing within. You inwardly focus or tap into that fountain of bliss which is residing within us as well. Then that is where your ekant sadhana aspect comes in handy as well. And when you start turning it inwards, start tapping into that part which basically will lead to relish that imperishable happiness that we are talking about. And what it leads to basically is that the shloka that it is talking about, so Brahma Yoga Yuktatma, means a person who is Yoga Yukt or fully connected with Lord. Well, then what is the pleasure they would end up getting? It says it keeps on increasing with time, and it is Sukham Akshayam Ashnute. That is the last line of this shloka, which means that that person gains Akshay. Akshay means something which is imperishable. You can't exhaust into it. Unending or eternal happiness. So this is how it unfolds. Now the question is, how do we get that right? It's not like you close your eyes, you directed your sense inward, now you will experience God and you become blissful, right? But this is the journey, how it goes. Now each step, it is at a macro level, right? First of all, how do you detach yourself from external stimuli? Second is, how do you turn your senses inwards? And third is, then how do you focus on God, right? So these are the mission level statements. But when you operationalize it, it can boil down to a lot of things that you have to do on a day-to-day basis, right? That's where we talk about the tools, seva, satsang, sadhana, and doing your devotion, ekant sadhana. All that would lead us to this state of gaining this imperishable happiness that we're talking about, which keeps on increasing. And it does not follow the law of diminishing returns like we experience in the material world or from material happiness. Yes, Sandhya, you had a question?
I was wondering about this sequence, and in terms of that being the first step, where we become detached and are not too excited by the external stimulus. Like, could the first step be getting attached to the divine bliss? Like, for example, in terms of kirtans, bhajans, satsangs, divine discourses.
Right. So now you're talking about how do we operationalize it, right? How do we attain each one of these? So that is where we have spoken about it, and good that you asked this is. See, one thing is you look at it, very in a very systematic, structured manner. Okay, first I need to do this, and then this and this. Second is you simply engage in devotion. Okay, bhakti is that pill. You just pop in a pill, and then you don't worry about, okay, now that pill is entered my throat, and now it's going to my stomach, and now the bile juice, it's mixing, and now it is going part of my bloodstream, and now my heart is pumping it to the right place where it needs to produce its efficacy or result. You don't worry, you simply pop in a pill and forget about it. So bhakti is that silver bullet or Swiss Army knife.
Ramban.
Swiss Army knife. Are you able to hear me?
I said Ramban also, maybe we can say.
Ramband, you can Brahmastra, whatever you want to call it. You do devotion, you attach your mind to God, and everything that needs to happen will happen automatically. That is the beauty of devotion. Then we don't have to do that. See, um, it's like I said, right? Scriptures and are like a merchant store, journal store where you go and you'll get everything. So there are people who want to have a very structured approach to this thing, and they some aspects of it and are more palatable or appealing to them. So I've seen people who will measure their heartbeat every now and then, and they will look at how their BPM is, and when they walk they also count their steps, so that if reaching from point A to point B has taken fewer steps, so then they wonder, have I grown taller? Or if it has taken more steps, have I grown shorter? So they go to that extent. We don't have to go to that much of details. You simply do devotion. Whatever is needed will be provided for automatically. That is the beauty of devotion. It is a Ramban, like you said.
There's a follow-up question from Manisha D. But once we feel that divine bliss, why during our dips we again feel low? It should be imperishable happiness or bliss. It should be there always. Because during my dips, I miss that feeling, that bliss through sadhana and roop dhyan. And then when I get engaged in sadhana and roop dhyan, I feel the bliss again.
Yeah, so we are like that iron filing, right, which gets attracted to magnet. First of all, you feel the bliss, that itself is reason to feel good about. So congratulations for that. Not everybody does that. That means you are acquired a good taste, right? But right now, as long as you are in contact with that magnet, you will acquire magnetism, right, for that number of while, or it may last for a little more time, especially if you're attending family camp or a retreat, right? But then it fades away. It's like striking two wood together. It would heat up, but not heat up to the extent where it'll reach the ignition temperature. So then it fades away. But beyond a point, it will persist. And I think probably it would be helpful to touch upon that bhav bhakti part of it, where it starts persisting as you're talking about. And I think Monica ji spoke about, what are the different milestones. Maybe I'll touch upon that tomorrow. What are the different milestone in Bhav Bhakti? So once you reach that level, then that feeling will persist with you. It'll only keep on getting finer and finer and finer. But until that point, we have to continue to strive hard, keep on focusing on the fundamentals, and then there would be a threshold beyond that. That feeling will start becoming our permanent accomplice, which it is not right now.
And can we also say, like, whatever so-called bliss we are experiencing is just a simulation to the reality which will happen at
Yes.
some point of time?
Yes, that's right. It's like that NASA simulation when the astronauts, they have to go for that space trip, they are given that simulation down below. And when you truly go there, you'll start experiencing it. Right now, we are like Vrishak, bull. Why like bull? Because if we are served good, Jaggreen, that is a spiritual retreat or a discourse, we enjoy it. And at the same time, we enjoy the world as well, right? So you give a bull a good, it will relish it. You give a bull all the dry grass and stuff like that, it will enjoy that too. But then when you start becoming chatak and those kind of categories, then you are become very selective about what you relish, right? So those stages are the later stages where you become very selective about what you truly relish. Right now, we relish a lot of things, right? Whole spectrum of things we can relish. Even the world we relish, the experiences that we get in world, we relish that as well. But those will start waning away, and then it will just be the jagrin, pure jagrin, and then final stage is becoming like a chatak. Chatak is so selective that it does not even drink water. Chatak will die of thirst, but will not drink water or that drop which comes from Swati Nakshatra. So Swati Nakshatra is, the constellation, an alignment of stars that happens once, only very rarely once in a while. And when it happens, there's a particular drop that falls to the ground, and that's what Chatak takes. Otherwise, it will rather die. So that is the state when we reach. Then we are being very selective, and then we are partaking only divinity, and then we'll be in that bliss that we are talking about. Yes, Tejas, but we'll talk about some of the milestones of Bhav Bhakti tomorrow so that we can measure ourselves up against it and see what are the symptoms, how many of those symptoms do manifest in us, and how much work is still needed to be done. Yes, Tejas.
Radhe
Yeah,
Radhe.
Radhe Radhe. So you were mentioning about Bhav Bhakti, right? And from what you were explaining, it sounded like uh, your mind keeps going away from God, or when it goes away from God, basically you're not thinking about devotion, right? So is it like when you try to improve your focus, your Bhav Bhakti automatically increases, or is it the other way around? Because ultimately you're trying to focus, right?
Focus,
So
yes.
people also meditate to improve their focus. So
Hmm.
when they focus on God, that's when the devotion increases, and that's when your Bhav Bhakti increases, right? I'm just trying to
Yeah,
connect those
so
two things in my mind.
focus is a tool that can be employed. As I understand, Bhav, see, like Gyan Yoga is more about using your intellect, right, to deepen your surrender to God or perfect your surrender to God. Bhakti is more of an emotional practice.
Okay.
Okay, you tap into bhavs. It's an emotional. So even the meditation that they talk about is emotional. That is why people who find it easy to cry, they are blessed.
Mm,
All they have to do is dovetail their tears towards God.
mm, mm,
Right now, they will file tears even for the world and for God as well. But at least, getting that tears is easy. So when I say emotional meditation, that means that our heart is like a cold wax. So when it melts, then only it can take on the color of something else, right? If you have to, let's say, put a color on a wax, you cannot do it unless the wax has in a molten state. So with this emotional meditation, when you start building those emotions towards God, that's on with you start taking colors. And when you take on colors, that will help you build that, your bhav will keep on becoming finer and finer and finer. So it's like tapping into your emotions and building that bhav for God.
So, in my experience, I feel like remembering God's pastimes or listening to God's stories, that is the best
Yeah.
way to develop that. I mean, this just from my experience I'm speaking, but
Yeah, it is said
uh,
different slopes for different folks. So whatever works. Some people get, start shedding tears when they hear kirtan, some during Leela, or some just
yeah,
story of God. So
story
whatever
of God.
works for us. That is why God has given us variety. He understands and appreciates that all of us are different. So yeah,
Yeah,
good point.
thanks.
Thanks, Tejas, for asking. Yes, Anya?
Yeah, so actually, there was follow-up to our discussion. So the Dhruval said it's like a trailer of a movie, like, the bliss that we experience right now before Bhagavad Prapti is like a trailer to the real movie that we will
Trailer,
experience.
yeah. It's a teaser or a trailer, yeah. Say that.
And Manisha Di said that like she just expressed whenever she experienced those low dips, she follows Nitin sir's advice that put more efforts than you used to do in the past. And then the bliss state will come back, and that actually works. So she's thanking you for that.
Okay,
And
that's good to know, Manisha ji. I'm sure it will inspire other people as well. Like Swamiji always says that if the dose is not working, double it. Double is not working, triple it. Right? Just other way.
and
You
she's
everything,
she's adding to it, not giving up is the key.
not giving up is the key. Give up, giving up.
Awesome. And there is another question. How to tackle the tests which keep coming in our life? One is harder than the previous one. Every time one level higher. Sometimes it feels like as if it is our karma or test, especially in difficult situations.
I think Sri Aurobindo had said that you have to be more persistent than the difficulty. There is no other choice. But the point here is let's have that belief, first of all, that God will give us tests, only those tests that we are capable of surmounting. He's not going to give you a test that is way beyond your ability. He will give you a test a little beyond your ability so that you can stretch yourself and expand yourself and uplift yourself. But he will not give you a test that is beyond your reach. The idea is not to make you fail, but to make you better. And they say growth happens at the end of our comfort zone. So he will push you out your comfort zone. So take it on. It's like bring it on. See, pain is good. Test is good. Discomfort is good. Why? Because now it's an opportunity for inner growth. If life is comfortable, then easier said than done, but look at it that way. And never think, see, it's like God will never give you a test that you are not capable of passing, and that he reserves his hardest test for his best students as well. So take inspiration from that and say, okay, bring it on. And now, whether it is because of my karma or is it because of some lesson that God is trying to teach me that I'm failing in, it's a moot point. Let's say test has come, I'll try to do my best in that scene and see where it takes me. That's the best attitude we can employ in any such adverse situation or something that is repeating over and over again with us. Hope
And
that
yeah, the Prasad Buddhi attitude.
yeah, yeah, Prasad Buddhi. And it's like, okay, they say that don't ask God why me, ask God why not me. Okay, so if you can move towards that, then again, this sounds good but difficult to implement, but that is where we all need to work towards. Why not me? Yes, Monica ji.
Radhe Radhe Di.
Radhe Radhe.
Bhav
One
Bhakti,
thing that
we'll
I
talk
have,
about Bhav Bhakti tomorrow. Okay, so I'm just telling
okay,
about this one.
sure. So to just to add on to this one, Nitinji, I have, I mean, come to a point, and not just now, because of Swamiji's lectures also, that whatever happens with us, it's either our product or we are getting tested. Both ways, we are progressing spiritually. So, like, Animaji once told that for, to get into IIT or IIM, we study so hard. This is like we are planning much, much bigger. So, any kind of test, we are progressing. So just take it that way.
True.
Radhe
Here,
Radhe.
even for very true. Thanks for pointing that out. See, even for us to succeed in material world, we have to strive hard. If we have to get promotion, we have to work hard. When we had to clear entrance, we had to work hard. When we had to get a job, we had to work hard. And now here we are talking about clearing the entrance of God, which is the ultimate prize a Jivatma can have. So the journey is going to be interesting for sure. We will be tested. It is said like the journey may be long, but when you will reach there, you will say it was well worth it. Long and tedious and arduous and maybe painful as well along the way. But when you reach and get that prize, you will say it was very well worth it. Okay, that is an assurance from saints. So we can take a lot of hope from that. Yes, Sandhya?
Now comes a cute question, I would say, from Laddu. Radhe Radhe Bhaiya, if Mahadev is giving the hardest test to his best students, then why am I getting a simple test?
Why am I getting? He may be warming you up, right? Like we do before playing a game, you have to warm up, right? Otherwise, it might break your muscles. So he may be warming you up that, okay, let's have a teaser, and then in due course of time, I'll give you the right test as well. So it doesn't mean that, you are not a good student at all. He may be warming you up, or he said you take it easy. Maybe you don't need to go through such tests. Okay, I have a different plan for you.
Also, it may appear simple if you have higher degree of faith
True.
in God and Guru, right?
Yeah, it may be appearing simple to you. For somebody else, it might be a big roadblock. Who knows? So in either case, let's be happy. The key thing is to maintain a good headspace in the path of devotion rather than now say, God, you are not giving me high test. That means you don't consider me a good student. So that's the last thing you would like to think about, right? You're doing good. See, if there are very few people who can challenge you for the post of Nandi, I can tell you that. So you can be happy in that. Good. Anything else? Please fill out the feedback tracker for any questions that you may have. Today we are going to introduce about the practical tools as well. Dhruval is going to take that slide. I think we are already nearing that time. So go ahead, Dhruval, all yours. And if you have questions, fill it on the feedback tracker, or we can take it maybe after this practical tools that Dhruval is going to talk about. All yours.
Radhe Radhe.
Tomorrow we will
Nothing.
talk about Bhav Bhakti, the different milestones, and we have a spiritual cash-up segment. Just wanted to remind you that. Yes, go ahead, Dhruval.
Okay. Can you see my screen?
Yes, we can.
Okay. Radhe Radhe, yeah. Thank you. I think I just noticed I have a typo. It's 5.21, not 5.20. Sorry. I will fix that before
Oh,
sharing.
I do it all the times. Go ahead.
And there's a stray arrow that I was not able to figure out where it's coming from. I couldn't delete it. I will try to
No
clean
worries,
it up.
no
It is
worries.
not there in the final presentation, but yeah, thank you for opportunity to present a practical tool. In 5.21, I think we discussed about detachment from external pleasures. So we'll talk about a very, very interesting tool that I heard about from Maharaji, of course, Abhyas Vairagya Sadhana, which can help us develop detachment from the material world. So let me see if my okay. Okay, so it's come finally. The first step, Maharaji explains it as hatana, which is to remove the mind from the material world. I think he has a very interesting discourse on how the scriptures can be a little confusing about whether we need to detach first or attach first. Uh, I watched that video like 5 times and I'm still pretty much a little confused. So yeah, it's a very interesting one, but he tries to resolve this by saying that our mind is already attached to start with from many, many infinite births, right? And so we must start with hatana, like that's the Hindi word for taking the mind from the material world. And the way this works in his description is that we tell ourselves that we are the soul, and therefore the happiness that we seek is also for the soul. And if it's happiness that we're seeking in the soul, it's not a subject of the world, as Maharaji puts it. It's just not in the world. And this is something that we must truly understand. It's like not something that could just like say, okay, the scriptures are saying it, So it must be something that we should start by reading scriptures, but we have to truly understand this in our intellect. And he also mentions that the repetition is very important. So we have to keep reminding ourselves, keep repeating it, and keep doing so regularly. So the
RR.
next step, sorry, go ahead. Yes,
No, go
RR.
ahead. RRR. I said that's good.
Yes. The second aspect is lagana, which is now that the mind is a little bit like you've decided now that there is no happiness in the world. The mind has two attributes. It's always going to seek happiness and it's always going to be attached to something. So now we can try to take it to God. And at this step, like even if we can't see it, I think Maharaji mentions that we have to really accept the word of the scriptures and the saints that the bliss is God. It's a pretty like we may we have not experienced it, so we don't know it, but we cannot go like we have to believe what the scriptures and the saints are saying when it um comes to this step, and we must practice this. Like you have a ability to take the mind to God, let's take it to God. And the third step, I think Maharaji puts it in a very, very interesting way. Hat Ana. The first step was Hatana. The third step is Hat Ana, wherein the attachment to God and the detachment from world will both increase, I'm sorry. So we will automatically start getting attached to God and we'll start getting the rus of it. We'll automatically start detaching from the world also bit by bit. But the mind will still go back. I think Maharaji explained this quite clearly. Like, it's not the end of the process. It's going to keep going back, and that's why we have this arrow. The process has to keep going, and the reason we say it's automatic, well, it's automatic for us, but it's really coming by God's grace. Both this attachment to God as well as the detachment from the world itself. So yeah, this three-step process is a loop, and eventually, like things will start happening more and more naturally, as Maharajji puts it. Like you have to form the Drin Nishcha in the first step, and then steps 2 and steps 3 will become a little bit more natural as time goes. And yeah, there's a couple of videos I've linked. I highly recommend everyone watch those videos. It's on the Abhyas Vairagya Sadhana from Maharajji. And I think lastly, like to summarize how this process can be, I was unfortunately not able to find the link to Swamiji's video on this. I'll try to find it after the class. But he explains it very beautifully that we are starting in the world, and uh, he has a story that he explains us through, that a guru tells the disciple to go out in the night and seek something, and the disciple says that, okay, I can only see 20 feet away. And it's similar, the process over here, that, we start out, we can only see 20 feet. We go ahead 20 feet. Again, we can see 20 feet, yet again, and finally we get to our destination. It's a process wherein even if we can't see all the steps or all the milestones going forward, we have to keep going how much ever we can see, because as we move forward, we might be able to see more and more with the help of God and Guru. So yeah, that is the tool for the. Thank you again.
Thank you, Dravil. That is very nicely captured. In fact, the 6.35 is the instruction given by Lord Krishna to Arjun, right? He says, Abhyasena tu kaunte vairagyena cha griyate. And this is so nicely articulated and explained here. And it's again one of those things you can take a snapshot of it to practice it. Hatana, lagana, hat ana. So it's a recursive process. We need to keep on doing that until our mind starts getting immersed in God naturally. And that is the Bhav Bhakti, where it's, now it's like Hatana would be from the God, so that to take it back to the world. Right? So it's such a nice problem to have. Not a problem, but a nice position to be in, where your mind is automatically in God and then you have to take it out. But yeah, very nicely presented, and this beautiful story about we may not have all the answers right now, but whatever little we have understood, let's implement it, and then the next piece of knowledge would also reveal itself, and then that's how we complete our journey. So it goes not from doubt to doubt, but to understanding, from understanding to understanding. This is how its journey is supposed to unfold. So thank you, Dhruval, and for taking this initiative and giving us a beautiful presentation and articulation on this concept. Okay, Visanda, you wanted to add something? Please
Yeah.
fill out the feedback tracker if you have any more questions or anything you wanted to share about. So I think that has already been posted. Go ahead.
As first of all, of course, this presentation is great. And these videos of Maharaji, I also got a benefit of watching them as Ruel had shared. So they are wonderful. And I love this part about, like Maharaji first presents the conundrum so beautifully that you are like, there cannot be any solution to this problem. This seems like there are two ways which are just opposite, and how do you solve it? And then Maharaji himself beautifully provides the solution to the problem. And like it is mentioned here, the point one, first step is to self-effort. Like we need to decide from our intellect only. We cannot depend on grace for taking this first step. We need to have our firm intellect to take that first step, and then we can move forward. So I think I really like that. Um, and yeah, I just wanted to add one thing. So in the bottom row, like Dhruval has shown, we can only see like say 20 feet ahead. Uh, just to add to it, our guru can see like much, much far ahead than what we can see. And that's where it helps to just surrender our intellect to him and
Yep.
follow his instruction and, proceed accordingly.
That's true. They have the big picture in mind. That definitely helps, and that's where the spirit of surrender comes in. Yes, Rahul?
Yeah, Radhe,
Hard
Radhe.
stop
Just
at
wanted to
10 today, so we can probably take 2 more hands. I have to wrap up at 10 today. Yes, Rahul, go ahead.
Yeah, Radhe, Radhe. First of all, thank you to Dhruval for presenting the crux of this concept, because this is what happens, what we have to do during our ekant sadhana. I mean, after that ekant sadhana also we have to practice that. But during ekant sadhana, whoever tries to practice, it naturally comes back to the mind comes back to the word. So that is where we have to do that. Hatana lagana, hatana. So yeah, thank you so much. Yeah.
Very true. It's a great framework. Yes, Pratyusha, go ahead.
Radhe Radhe everyone, Radhe Radhe sir. Um, one one thing that I wanted to share was to have a Sakshi Bhav or to have this detachment. Something that we can do is we understand things that we experience through the senses as something positive or negative, and both are energies. Energies means electrons. So how do we get rid of these electrons? Is by grounding. So how do we ground? Connect with nature. Have pets that go around, ground themselves, hug a tree, walk barefoot, or there are many other methods that we will just now shared. But this one point can be very useful when you're having a low point or low thought, because thoughts are again energy, which is negative probably. That's why you're feeling low. Ground yourself.
Grounding.
Radhe Radhe.
Beautiful point, Pratyusha. Yeah, grounding is the key. And good to see Abhaji and Komalji together today. That's nice. I mean, Abhaji has traveled here or Komal has traveled? Komal has traveled too.
Yes, I'm in, Hibbert.
Okay, good to see
Yes.
you together.
Yeah.
Nice. Yes, Sandhya, you wanted to read out something? We can probably spend a couple of minutes and then we can wrap it up. Go ahead.
Yeah, so there are a few comments that came before this tool segment. So Prachi ji said for Laddu, if God is giving easier test, then you are fortunate to have spare time to help others strengthen their faith.
Very true. Yeah,
And,
or help them clear their test. I don't know, but yeah.
and Kumarji says bigger test is given when one gets married.
Laddu's already married.
I mean, he just gave a general statement. Ajit ji says it's not focus or concentration, I believe, but consistency, flawless attention required for bhav bhakti.
Right. Yeah, focus is a tool. It helps regardless of where, right? It's like that lens where you're converging all the energy. So focus definitely is a great tool. even in material life, what we are trying to do, and more so in meditation, if we can do that, where we are able to bring in our mind and be able to concentrate, focus on the object of meditation. Okay, anything else?
Yeah, just request to Dhruvil for sharing the video links, but I think that will anyway be shared on the community portal as well. So check that out, and I think Dhruvil is sharing in the chat too. So you'll have to send it to everyone. Right now it's to, yeah.
Sure, Dhruval, if you can do that in the chat, that will be good. Ajitji, you wanted to say something? Maybe the last one. Like I said, I had a hard stop, so.
Yeah, Nitinji, actually, my intention of focus is that follow the rituals. When you are doing some worshipping in the temple, you see the pujari, how he performs the puja and all this thing. So it is not required for us to follow the same focus and concentration for us, but consistency is something that relates to attachment to the God, godly things,
Consistency.
activities.
True.
Yeah, that is the intention. Yeah, just want to clarify. Radhe
Good
Radhe.
point. Good point, Ajitji. Very true. Consistency and building that routine definitely goes a long way.
And
Okay.
lastly, Monica, these comment. I
Mhm.
grasp more by listening than reading. So thankful to Dhruvil for bringing these tools. Our platform is simply amazing, where satsangis are constantly hand-holding and marching towards our beloved Radha Krishna.
You summed it up very well. Very true. It's a beautiful satsang and a good congregation we have every day. I look forward to it. And now we have so many newer participants, so much inspired, who are coming forward and doing the presentation and sharing these tools. So it can only get better from here on. So thank you again, Dhruvil, and pretty much all of you.
Yeah,
Like I
and
said,
Shaji is also saying thank you to Dhruvil for the awesome presentation.
awesome, Dhruvil. And you uploaded as well, right, on the community portal. So go ahead with that. So unfortunately, we'll have to cut short the remaining part of it. I have a hard stop, so I'll have to wrap up. I look forward to seeing you tomorrow. We'll talk about the milestones of bhakti and our spiritual cash up segment as well. So Radhe Radhe, good night, good day from my side. Thank you, everybody.